I sincerely believe that if this was perpetrated by a man against a young woman, that we would have seen something akin to 20 years in prison. I think that she is a benefactor of a very wrong double standard in society. I think that it is high time for people to start paying attention to what goes on in our court systems, because this is an absolute travesty. It is not right. I condemn it in every way. I am quite frankly somewhat ashamed to be associated with a system that has performed so poorly in this matter. We have advocated as zealously as we possibly could. We put forth as much evidence as we could have ever hoped for, and this decision is quite frankly just poor.
Those are some fighting words from DeSoto County Prosecutor, District Attorney Matthew Barton in the great state of Mississippi, right after the sentencing of youth leader in the church-going woman, 27-year-old Lindsay Whiteside, sexually abused a minor girl in the community, in the church, and received a very light sentence. And Prosecutor Barton was ashamed to be a part of the system, saying it's high time people watch what's going on in the court system and see some of these sentencing for predators. And in this case, a female predator who was given a probation sentence. That's right, a probation sentence for Lindsay Whiteside after prosecutors had requested 30 years for molesting a child, continuous sexual battery of a minor child over 6 to 9 months. This was all the elements of grooming and manipulation, very much deceitful. She understood exactly what she was doing, and she was getting away with it. And she partially got away with it from another angle. We go off the angles here at the Dark Underbelly. We're happy to share why women get such lenient treatment when they are even put in the system. Because now we know that most of them are not put in the system. You know, we've got commenter after commenter in this channel saying that they were abused as children. They never reported it. They enjoyed it. They didn't think that they were victims. The law determined victims, stating that they don't want to be victims. Makes it very difficult to fight against predators and pedophiles and molesters when you have a group of victims that refuse to accept that they are indeed victims. They cannot consent to this type of activity, and the person committing it is getting away with it. Not in this case. We had a very tough and courageous victim. We had a very supportive family, but not without the support behind Lindsay Whiteside. She received 49 letters of support. Yeah, I thought the world hated predators. I thought society condemned it. I thought the predators get killed in prison. I didn't know. Well, I did. Dark Underbelly, we understand it. Did you all know that if you watch JD DeLay or Viking Mindset and some other YouTubers that talk about how predators get shanked in prison, they don't talk about the predators and the pedophiles that get 49 letters of support, including a board member of the on the school board in DeSoto County, as well as 10 members of the faculty of the school district, that 2 of whom recanted. And so we've got this very lenient sentencing, and society is starting to fight back. At the next school board meeting, over 100 members showed up to condemn the school board member that supported and wrote a letter of support for Lindsay Whiteside.
What can we do above? How can we go further to get this taken care of? If we're not going to get any resolve here, how can we get resolved up higher up? What do we do?
Do we need to go to Jackson?
Yeah, do we need to talk to
When I meet with, I'm gonna meet with Pam today, and I'll relay that information. I'll find out. I don't know that information.
Okay, that would be awesome, because I have a ton
And I'll meet with
parents
Pam
that are
later.
behind that have been victims of this and had to go through the legal systems and put people in jail and get injustice for kids also. So let's do something, finally do something to get help to these kids. Because I'm tired of it. It's been 5 years for my kids and nothing, and it still hurts us every single day. It's been 3 days for them.
You had two members of the community that wrote letters on behalf of Lindsay White, recanting it after public reaction, that they claimed and alleged that they were under constant pressure to write this predator a letter of support. 60,000 text messages were exchanged back and forth of very much grooming behavior. And the state of Mississippi, deep in red America, sentenced her to probation after prosecutors demanded she be imprisoned 30 years. So let's go take a look at DeSoto County District Attorney.
Okay, is everybody turned on, ready to go?
We're ready.
I figured so. Y'all are waiting for a little bit. I appreciate you waiting. In case this is streaming somewhere, I will warn audience this subject matter may not be suitable for everybody. But today we're announcing the conviction of Lindsay Whiteside, who has now been found guilty of sexual battery while in a position of trust and authority over a minor child. This stems from her time as a youth pastor at Get Well Baptist Church in Hernando. The victim in this case was a member of that youth group, and that is what created the opportunity for this repeated sexual abuse of a child. Procedurally, the way we got here is in November of 2024, these accusations were disclosed to the Sheriff's Department here in DeSoto County. They were investigated right away. Our office was able to secure an indictment in less than a month after the investigation started. The case that was put together was very, very good. Maybe the strongest you could hope for in a situation like this. We had 64,000 pages of printed out text messages. We had handwritten letters that were on church stationery. We had just a mountain of evidence. It was overwhelming proof. There was no way Lindsay Whiteside would have ever been able to get out from under the pile of evidence. So she did ultimately plead guilty, knowing that a trial would be it would not be a worthwhile endeavor. So she pled guilty really out of necessity. She had no chance of going to trial. We did that earlier today. It was immediately followed by a sentencing hearing. We, as the state of Mississippi, and on behalf of the victims, requested the maximum sentence, which is 30 years. And I don't mind just saying it frankly. I'm extremely disappointed. The sentence ended up being 3 years of house arrest, followed by 7 years of post-release supervision, for a total of 10 years of supervision. This sentence is an absolute abomination of justice. It is not right. Everything is wrong. This is the reason why people question whether our institutions actually serve victims. This is the wrong message. It is very, very difficult for a victim of a crime, especially a child, to come forward and then to have her voice silenced by a horrible, horrible sentence, miscarriage of justice. Makes it even more difficult for future victims to want to come forward and be brave. I want to commend the victim in this case and her family. I've rarely seen such a display of courage and faith, and I consider it one of the privileges and honors of my career so far to have represented them in this process. I'm very disappointed that we did not get a result that I think was appropriate, but I am very proud that our victim did what she was supposed to, and that was speak up for herself. And even though we did not get the result we wanted, that will never be taken away. Lindsay Whiteside will have to register for the rest of her life as a child sex offender, which will hopefully be a mark to show society that she is the worst type of menace that can never be trusted. She was trusted with a congregation She was trusted with children, and she betrayed that trust.
Mr. Barton, I got news for you. No, that's not necessarily the case. In fact, there was a video published of a bunch of Gen Z young men searching for women on the sex offender rate as baddies. They're bad. They're really bad. They're baddies. Not pedophiles and predators. They were searching the sex offender list to look up women so that they go and get a date with them.
Even get into this. Was this your original content?
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, from the start. I feel like we're all freaky, and I'm just brave enough to show it and express it. I seen an Instagram post of a teacher. It was a bad teacher. She was fine, and she got in trouble for like sleeping with her students, and the comments were canceling her. And I was like, yo, she's still bad. Why are they writing her off? So I thought there's more teachers like this. Why not go on the list and take them in when everybody's trying to cancel them? You feel me?
So the mark of what? The mark of gamesmanship, of treating this as a joke. You know, unfortunately, women do not face the same type of societal punishment that male sex offenders face, deservedly so.
She used the gospel of Jesus Christ as a weapon. She used the vulnerabilities of a child who was going through personal struggles to gain access and manipulate an entire congregation, but even worse and more specifically, she manipulated a family through a undeniable pattern of abuse that started with several months of grooming and then several months of prolonged and repeated sexual abuse in the worst type of manner. I cannot summarize the entirety of this abuse in a short press conference. Suffice it to say, I sincerely believe that if this was perpetrated by a man against a young woman, that we would have seen something akin to 20 years in prison. I think that she is the benefactor of a very wrong double standard in society. I think that it is high time for people to start paying attention to what goes on in our court systems, because this is an absolute travesty. It is not right. I condemn it in every way. I am quite frankly somewhat ashamed to be associated with a system that has performed so poorly in this matter. We have advocated as zealously as we possibly could. We put forth as much evidence as we could have ever hoped for, and this decision is quite frankly just poor. With that said, I am very honored to be joined by a member of our victim's family. Her name is Pam Pegram. She has prepared a statement that she would like to share on behalf of the victim. It is my belief that victims should always be heard, and so I am sincerely proud to turn it over to her for a moment to share something on behalf of the family.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Pam Pegram, and I'm speaking on behalf of the victim's family. It's my family. Today, a very brave young girl showed remarkable courage as she shared about the abuse she suffered from a sexual predator, Lindsay Aldi Whiteside. This vulnerable child was manipulated and betrayed by someone more than 9 years older than her, who was supposed to be her spiritual mentor, someone who grossly abused her position of trust, someone she looked up to as her youth minister. The evidence presented today was vile, it was evil, and quite honestly, it was shocking. How could anyone do things like she did to a young girl and then show up, sometimes to preach at church on Sunday morning, sometimes to lead a Bible study, sometimes to lead a youth retreat or a youth event, after knowing what she had just done? Today, in Lindsay Whiteside's own words, through her text messages and her letters, we saw the depth of depravity, deceit, and deliberate efforts to hide her twisted actions. The pain and the suffering this victim and her family have experienced are beyond words. This trauma has touched every part of their lives, yet it does not define this victim or her family. As believers, we know that God will redeem what has been lost, and He will use this devastating season to grow us and strengthen us and draw us closer to Him. For almost a year, our family has remained silent. waiting for this day when truth could finally be revealed. During that time, we have heard the rumors. We have read the comments. And we have listened to people's opinions who did not have any of the facts or any information to base those on. That has only deepened our pain. Let me be clear. No adult should ever engage in sexual contact with a child in no way, shape, or form. The victim is never at fault. This adult could have any time said, "Mom, help me. Pastor, help me. Friend, help me." She never did. She plotted and she planned and she deceived and she manipulated so that she could have her way. When you support the offender, you re-victimize the victim. Y'all, this is why victims don't come forward and tell their story. Still, our family, we will stand firm in our faith. We believe in truth, justice, and even forgiveness. But can I tell you, forgiveness is hard. It is challenging, and it may be a day-by-day decision that we work our way toward. Now that Lindsay has been found guilty, I really wanted to say that justice had been served, but y'all, it has not been served. She gets to go home and put on her favorite pajamas and cuddle up in her favorite chair and hang out in her safe place, where she entered into our family's safe place and destroyed that. It became a place where she pursued the victim. How is this fair? How is this right? And the judge said that prison was for people that we're afraid of. Y'all, isn't prison a place for people who commit crimes, regardless of what they look like and regardless of whether you know to be afraid of them or not? I mean, like Matthew said, it would have been so different had the offender looked different. Can we all agree? Oh, but I have to say, for those of you who have prayed for us, for those of you who have supported our family during this horrific time, we are forever grateful and we appreciate you.
Wow. So a very eloquent statement from a family member. I yet again note that this is just an observation. You can let me know what you think about it down in the comments. I'm sure you will. Yet again, it's a woman family member that comes forward when the predator is a female. We have yet to see a man step forward and give a statement like this. A father, an uncle, a cousin, a brother of a victim when the perpetrator was a female. Where are all the men at that hate predators? Where are all the men at that would do anything to protect their children? Where are they? Because all I hear and all I see is absolute cowardice and silence. And it takes strong, eloquent, articulate women, family members like this lady to come forward and to deliver a passionate plea for justice and to point out the harm that was done to the minor victim in the case. Don't see men stepping forward. They just are blocked from doing it.
Before I take in questions, that it is true that when you support the abuser, you re-victimize the victim. And for that, that's part of the reason why I was so disturbed by the amount of pedophile sympathizers that wrote into the court. And specifically, Michelle Henley is an elected member of our school board. Our victim at the time was a student at one of the schools that Michelle Henley is supposed to help govern. And yet she wrote a letter in support of the defendant, that she testified on behalf of the defendant's good character, which I submit there is no good character to somebody that would sexually abuse a child. That I don't care how much good you've done in the world if it's followed up by committing a repeated sexual act against a child. This is somebody that was not victim of an overwhelming moment or a temporary lapse in judgment. This is more akin to an adult lioness stalking prey and then pouncing when it was least expected, and then continuing to do so over and over again. Lindsay Whiteside committed sexual crimes against this victim while on church trips, while on a bus with other kids, put a blanket over the victim, and then sexually abused her while in the presence of church leadership and other children, and then preached about Jesus. We're talking about that manner of depravity. It's awful. Because Michelle Henley is in a position of authority and trust over children, and yet sides with a child predator, I believe she's not fit to be on our school board. I have given her a letter today demanding her resignation, and I hope she will, because we can have no faith in an institution that protects child predators. We cannot expect children who are victims of crime to tell their teachers or administrators that they have been victimized when an elected member of the school board is advocating for a known convicted sexual predator. It's inexcusable. She has shown tolerance where there can be none. She's got to go. And quite frankly, any teacher or vice principals that wrote in on support, they should likewise be gone. I would never send my kid to an institution where the adults in the room are not taking care of the kids. Period. Full stop. With that being said, now that my tangent is over, I will take any questions you may have. Yes, in the back.
Martin Stone, Fox 13. So, what struck me when I got to the courthouse today was the level of security. When I Googled what this story was about, it didn't tell me that there were two sides in terms of people supporting the defendant, people supporting the family. Can you talk about why that, I counted 13 deputies in the court?
Yeah, I think the divide comes from a lot of people in Get Well Church leadership and members have offered a great deal of support for the perpetrator who used to work and worship among them. And then you have the defendant's family were lifelong educators, so they have friends in the school system. They called upon those friends to write letters of support. And so we have this great divide. Certain things were put into place for security purposes.
That nobody was going to be happy. But I don't think that's quite true.
No, I actually saw the defendant looking relieved. I heard some rumblings from her side of the room where they were actually very happy. This is exactly what they asked for. So they are very happy because she will get to go to the same restaurants that you and your families go to. She will continue to have access to people's kids, and she will live her life as she always does as long as she registers.
When that verdict came down, you talked about disappointment. Was there anger or rage as well?
So I typically don't criticize a choice that a judge makes, and I certainly would never criticize a jury. In this case, we have a judge that acknowledged great harm being done to the victim and then essentially did nothing about it. And so it would be a little self-serving for me to pretend like I don't have a little rage or anger. I certainly do. I think the broader problem is the implication a sentence like this has on the community, because you can't, how are you going to trust a system that lays down for a perpetrator like this? So I know we had a question here and then there. Okay, yes.
In your capacity as a DA, can you ask for a sentence review to see if you can handle a harsher sentence?
So we do not have the option for any type of appeals or sentence. That's why elections are so important, because voters are the only person or the only people that have any sort of oversight on a circuit judge. The best I can do, and it's a little early for me to really be able to give any indication whether it would help. But I do plan on taking my case file and the transcripts to the federal prosecutors, letting them know what a horrible miscarriage of justice
And he
this
did,
was.
and they did
see
file.
if,
Good for him.
based on the fact that she crossed multiple state lines to do this type of offense in other jurisdictions, if we may be able to get her prosecuted through a neighboring jurisdiction or maybe our partners in the federal government. I will certainly do everything I can to advocate for my victim, no matter what juncture the proceedings we are. I can't personally prosecute or appeal anything, but I will certainly appeal to prosecutors in other jurisdictions, share evidence, and plead for them to pick this up so that hopefully she'll be properly punished. Let me go over here real quick.
I just wanted to ask, we're supposed to start at 1. Was there anything in the courtroom that held it up longer than the intended time?
I think maybe there were more people coming in than
Speak
were
up.
maybe expected, and so they're giving some time for that to settle off. Judge wanted to address the media about certain rules for recording before we began. We did not bring the victim or her family into the courtroom until after the judge had a chance to make that address. And so there were a few little housekeeping things that slowed us down, but that's about it.
If you could sit down in a room with Ms. Whiteside, what would you say to her?
I think she's such a narcissistic, manipulative person that there's probably nothing I could say that would even register with her. As we stood there today, she was making excuses for herself. She was downplaying what she did. I don't think she fully even gets it. She is so self-absorbed that speaking to her would only fuel her own desire for attention. She wants to be special. She wants to have attention from a congregation or social media or whatever, but she's not special. She's just a child predator. She is notorious at best, and she will not be remembered for her father's legacy. She will not be remembered for any contributions her family made to education. She will be remembered for what she is, and that is a child sexual predator. And I will tell you, there's nothing good about someone who will prey upon a child. That's what she'll be remembered, and she's not worth anyone's time, much less mine.
Is the victim still a minor?
The victim recently turned 18.
Are you able to release the name?
I'm not personally going to do it.
Do you think there are families, like you said, the status had anything to do with maybe the ruling today?
I think the fact that our judge is from an outside jurisdiction probably limits the amount of effect that could have. I think he had his own reasonings. I don't pretend to understand them. I'm not so sure that is the reasoning. But I will say that when you have you have letters from 9 teachers, you had a letter from a vice principal at a school, and you had a letter from an elected member of the school board. And so then you got many people from the church where she perpetrated these crimes also sending letters to the judge. So he probably felt safe making this decision, but I can't really speak to exactly what's in his mind.
And the fact that she's a woman,
I can't speak to what's in my mind, which is
sentencing her to probation.
This is not right. Plain and simple. There's no other way to put it. This is just not right. I'll take one more question if there is one.
I heard him say that prisons are for people that scare us. He literally said from the bench, this woman, Whiteside, doesn't scare him.
Prisons are for people that scare us, not for people like Lindsay Whiteside, who is a 26-year-old blonde woman sexually abusing kids, child. Prison's not meant for her. It's meant for people that steal, men that steal pencils from Walmart.
That kind of scares me.
Well, I think that my child is growing up here in DeSoto County. It's where I chose to raise a family. People like Lindsay Whiteside scare me. They're not going to be able to do anything to me personally because I'm older than she is.
Right on.
But I think about my child and the children that she plays with. And I'm really worried for people that aren't as guarded as I am, because I see this every day. Most people don't. And it's the people you don't expect. It's the church pastor, it's the teacher, it's the coach or whatever. And so, people like her is a very scary part of our society. I don't know if you're just envisioning. Look, I come here all the time. Y'all hear me. I say, stop Memphis, save DeSoto. I'm very critical of Memphis criminals that come down here and perpetrate violent crime. I talk about it all the time. You don't have to look like that or act like that to be an absolute menace to society. I think that preying on a child sexually is very much more egregious than a lot of the crimes I'm seeing people in prison for.
And having a missing tail light and getting your head bashed in because you moved the wrong way. But no, we're going to pull you over for your missing taillight, speeding over 3 miles an hour, running a stop sign, running a red light, but sexually abuse a kid, you don't scare us.
There's no way to balance or rectify that. I think you have one. I'm going to call it.
Woman.
That's it.
I have one more. Without going into graphic detail, what type of behavior, as far as manipulation, are we talking about? How long did this occur?
I mean, she would bring alcohol to a kid. She would bring alcohol to a kid. She would buy her parents
this is part of the story.
Like concert tickets so they could have a night out, and she would volunteer to babysit. She would make reservations, say, hey, I can babysit. She was in charge of logistics for the church group when they would take kids on youth trips and church camps, things like that. And so she had the logistical control to determine where children would stay, what rooms they would stay in, what beds they would be in, dormitory arrangements, things like that, where they'd sit on the bus, whatever. And she would use that logistical control to isolate the victim away from everybody else so that she could perpetrate these heinous acts while on duty as a youth minister. She would, I would just encourage all the prototypical grooming practices were displayed by Lindsay Whiteside. I mean, we could write a book about it, but like I said, this was not a one-time deal. This was a very calculated effort to abuse a child, and I think anyone that supports that should be ashamed. And that's all I have to say.
Great. Right on. One of the finest displays of a prosecutor with a pair of balls went to federal prosecutors, got them to refile charges, and in our system, it is not double jeopardy. She committed federal crimes apart from her state crimes, and we've seen this repeatedly also where they are entitled to file these charges because she did abuse this child across different on field trips and camping trips, and that crossed the border, and they're now filing these federal charges. Normally on a charge like this, she would be in jail until the trial. There would be a no bond, a remand to custody until some trial or the case is finished. She was given a bond in the federal system for these seriousnesses of charges. Well, we got an article too by Russ Latino, interesting last name, written for the Magnolia Tribune. Magnolia Tribune, a paper in Mississippi, DeSoto County, and I love his title, and I'm sure you all will know why. Lindsay Whiteside's DeSoto County sexual predator case reveals an infuriating double standard. Dark underbelly of school politics. The defense of a child predator by a school board member and faculty of DeSoto County Schools is nearly as disturbing as the double standard employed by the judge in giving Lindsay Whiteside a gentle tap on the wrist. Both demand accountability. Prosecutors had over 60,000 messages, documents ready for trial that Whiteside had groomed her victim over a prolonged period before initiating an extended sexual relationship. The district attorney, as we've noted, had requested 30 years. She got 10 years probation. If she'd been a man, pitchforks would have been raised. There would be calls to lock him up and throw away the key, and talk of castration or worse. But for some reason, if a cutish woman is a child predator, society sloughs it off or even makes a joke of it. No one would make an excuse for a dude. They'd call him a pedophile. The Whiteside case represents an abhorrent double standard. He talks about the lady on the school board that wrote a letter of support and then backtracked, as well as the other school faculty members that wrote a letter of support, and then the superintendent responding to the entire case as it unfolded. But there you have it, an incredible display, and including an incredible demonstration of everything that this channel covers, even down to the name of this channel has made an appearance in Russ Latino's Magnolia Tribune article. Definitely stole it from us. I can tell you he's a fan of the channel. Well, at least I hope he is. He should be, for sure. He stole our name, but that's okay, Russ. We'll let you use it for a no fee, as long as you're covering the topics that we care about. Lindsay Whiteside, now facing federal charges in the District of Mississippi federal system for trafficking a minor child across state lines. She's out on bond. Let's see if the federal system will do better than the state system did for this female predator. District Attorney Matthew Barton, really someone that I would feel safe being in his jurisdiction with the things that he has seen and the life experience that he has and the cases that have come across his desk, that he does consider her dangerous and he would be afraid of her. And he has seen drug dealers and murderers and everything in between. And Lindsay Whiteside, the youth leader and church-going member in a community in DeSoto County, as well as a basketball coach, labeled her a scary, scary woman and a dangerous one. Didn't get the sentence that he wanted. Can't blame him for that. And we got to give him a lot of credit for taking this to federal prosecutors and convincing them to take up the case to file charges against Lindsay Whiteside. That is DeSoto County. This is the Dark Underbelly. Thank you, Mr. Latino, for stealing our name. It is a great name, and that's why we call it what we do, because we explore these dark issues that are the underbelly of society, in which cases like this aren't really talked about in a way that facilitates a discussion of this double standard and outright hypocrisy of a society and a culture and even a community and a state that supposedly is on the right side of these issues. We clearly see their judicial system is very much on the wrong side. We'll keep you updated on this case. Lindsay Whiteside, the sentencing of Lindsay Whiteside. This is the Dark Underbelly, covering all of these issues.